So, hello, everybody. It is Sunday, and if it's Sunday, it must be the Demetra Kaye show. I'd like to welcome everybody to it. We are going to be talking about Candyman. Of course, you guys know the movie Candyman came out about 30 years ago or so at this point. Urban legend, if you will. I'll get into it a little bit. I won't tell you guys about the movie, so there'll be no spoilers involved. Just right off the top, I wanted to tell you that. But I wanted to talk about, what was a reminder to me in regards to the movie. Donovan doesn't know what it is, but, he's well versed on what I'm going to talk about. So anyway, I'd like to say thank you to Donovan, a recovering Democrat, for being here on the Demetra Kaye show. And thank you, Marcus Guyton, for everything you do behind the scenes and making the show go further on Facebook. Also like to say a big giant thank you and welcome to YouTube and Facebook, the other side of the conversation. You guys make this so much fun. And this is probably the only show that reads every single comment, question, or concern, because not only are you all viewers, but you are participants as well. And so before we get started, Donovan, what say you?
Hey, you guys, welcome again to the Demetra Kaye show. We are happy that you are here spending your Sunday with us. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to talk about this Candyman thing. And I'm going to tell you, I really do hope you guys are enjoying your weekends and all that stuff that is going off. Real quick, politically, Demetra, I was talking to my mom this morning. She is in the eye of the hurricane, living in Slidell, Louisiana. And she says it ain't all that. She goes, this hurricane ain't shit, right? Basically. And, it's kind of funny because my mom is basically starting to come around in regards to politics and her generation not doing what they're supposed to do. She's actually seeing it now that the CDC and the Supreme Court once again has ruled that the moratorium is unconstitutional. She's like, well, they had 60 days. I was like, yeah, Mom, they had 60 days. They told them that 60 days before, and your Democrats did not do anything. And now these people are subjected to being evicted. But welcome to the show, guys. We're going to talk about this and see what's happening.
So absolutely, yeah. Before we get started, I want to show you guys the Diva brand, where you can go and purchase a whole host of things. And some of those things are t-shirts, have stuff for children, little onesies, how cute, right? Blankets and a whole host of other things like your fanny packs, hats, backpacks, custom made with different sayings on them. Again, that's the Diva brand.shop. We also have these other shirts, American by birth, Africa by blood. See how Africa is not spelled out, but you can see it. Well, part of Africa anyway. And then if you want, a sweatshirt or whatever is going to get cold pretty soon, or sweatpants, go ahead and check out the Diva brand.shop. Also, if you're into, astrology, you can pick up some shirts there. And as I said, I have, where is it at? This one here, make Black Wall Street great again, and the t-shirts are very great quality. I like my t-shirts soft. I don't like my t-shirts all stiff because, it doesn't leave you room to breathe or to sweat properly. And so these t-shirts are really good quality. And so all of the proceeds will be going to the melanated market, which helps melanated people have a place of their own to sell their goods with no problem. So all of the proceeds from the sales of these items here are going to help Black people have a place to sell their goods. All right, y'all. So check it out. Got the link in the description box. So check it out, y'all. All right. So anyway, let's get to it. All right. So I went and saw the movie Candyman today, the Candyman remake. Again, the first one, I think, came out in 92, if I'm not mistaken. So about 30 years ago to this point. And I won't give it away, like I said. It was by Jordan Peele, produced by LeBron James's studios, I guess it is, or his production company, rather. And so, let me take this off. His production company. And, Candyman was true to form. But one of the things that was a really stark reminder to me, actually, before I get into, let me get to you guys' comments before I get too far behind. So, Moni, say, happy, wonderful, blessed birthday. Yes, tomorrow's the last day you claiming your birthday for 3 months. Said I'd like to welcome you coming on as it is 4:45 Eastern. So you were here early time. Still, for me, happy to see you, wonderful Demetra, and a handsome, delicious Donovan. He also said, I'm sitting here listening to Cajun Moon by Randy Crawford, and it gives you a southern melancholy, I think you meant, vibe. To meet you, I would love for you to do a skin show. Let's talk about hydrophilic and acid in the skin. Okay.
And real quick, music trivia. What is the #1 hit Randy Crawford is known for, Demetra?
Street Life. What?
You got it.
So I know something. The Crusaders with Joe Sample in them. Yes, indeed. So anyway, Anais, how you doing? Says the Candyman said, not that Candyman by Sammy Davis Jr. Hello, Eli. How you doing? The Pioneer. What's going on? DeWine, he says Candyman was good. I was wondering how they would do it. So did you see the second one as well? And let's see here tonight. What's going on with you? And Robin, how you doing? And Pioneer says, looks like y'all avoided the wrath of Ida down in Houston. It made landfall hours ago, and it's still a Category 4. Yeah, we seen little raindrops and stuff, but nothing major yet. How you doing, Bobby? And Moni says, Street Life, Randy Crawford's all-time favorite. I'm listening to it now, looking at my two beautiful. I think you made a typo. I don't know if that's what you meant, but all right, y'all. So yes, Joe Sample is from H-Town. I actually saw his tombstone. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Hey, Jeremy. All right, so within Candyman, they touched upon gentrification. As you guys know, Candyman was based out of the projects in Chicago, Cabrini Green. Cabrini Green has actually been there since 1942, named after a Saint Francis or, a Catholic somebody, Francis Cabrini, and then later named after another gentleman with the name of Green. And so they merged the names together, called it Cabrini Green. Now, originally the apartment or the complex, if you will, because it sounds like it housed over 5,000 apartments, right? This is how huge this complex was, right?
Insane.
Yeah. So it was meant originally to house Irish and Italian families after the war, to help them out. And then there was a lot of industry there at the time, but then the industry, being manufacturing plants and stuff like that, dried up. And so the white family, was calling that, the white families left, and then black families ended up moving in, and the crime began to, get out of control, just outrageous, right? And they say due to not being enough policing there, and no resources, right? So the factories and everything dried up. So it wasn't a lot of resources. Same thing is, typical for any really urban projects, if you will. And so throughout the time, there was a lot of crime, murders, gangs. They said that gangs would sit at the very top of some of these buildings and act as snipers. They said it was to the point that police officers would not go in there because they would get picked off, right, by the snipers. And so that left a lot of people living there prey to any and everything going on in there. And so I think it was in 1992, a little boy by the name of Danny Davis was walking home with his mother, and he was sniped by one of the snipers, killed. The snipers would say he was aiming toward a rival gang member, but accidentally shot the little boy. And so they say that was pretty much the beginning of the end. And it took over 20 years for them to completely demolish, well, not completely, because it sounds like some of it is still there, but to demolish most of the Cabrini Green apartments. And so out of that came the urban legend of, Candyman. And it sounds like some of it is true to some degree, but it actually wasn't in Cabrini Green. It was somewhere else in another project. I don't have the backstory on that, but they talked about gentrification a lot, and Candyman 2, as to how it works. Of course, you guys know, in our neighborhoods we are priced out eventually, and where we live get renamed something else. And as they said, pretty soon you see the Whole Foods and the Starbucks and all those things come in, and you pretty much know that's the beginning of the end of our neighborhoods. And so with that, you guys are probably starting to hear the term affordable housing, right? Now, affordable housing is supposed to allow people who do not have a lot of resources financially to allocate toward their living expenses, allow them a chance, opportunity to live there, right? But if you really just follow the logic right? We cannot afford now to live where used to be our neighborhoods. You have your South Central, Inglewoods, you know, Chicago, New York, everywhere. Harlem, from what I understand, is not even Harlem anymore. But so the question is, where are we going now? Where do we go? So you hear these affordable housing terms. They're going to build these affordable housing complexes. Doesn't that sound like a project to you guys in the making? Doesn't it sound like they're trying to put us all back in one area? They're trying to refashion these Cabrini Greens and, you know, the Carters and the Jungle, if you will, you know, Grape Street in Los Angeles, these, you know, Jordan Down projects. It sounds like they're trying to remanufacture these things to rope us all back into one area, because they said, you know, with the dilapidation of Cabrini Green, most of those people went off into the neighborhoods, if you will, right? And so you guys know Chicago is very crime ridden as well. And so I just, as I was watching the movie and thinking about it, I'm like, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same or go back to the way they were. But what I want to know from you guys is, do we realize that's what's going on? Like, we keep hearing gentrification, this, that, and the other, but do we really understand what that means for us as Black people? We are going to be roped back into the ghettos, which that wasn't an original term to us. It was actually an original term to Jewish people. That's where they lived. But we are going to be roped back into those areas because we can no longer afford to live what used to be ours, right? So what do you guys think? Am I off on my analysis of gentrification and affordable housing? You tell me, Donovan, what's going on?
No, you're actually absolutely right. You know, and the funny thing is, you know, a lot of people, it's just funny how we get lulled into sleep and we get so comfortable. We think things are getting better. And it's funny that you brought up the Candyman today, because this morning I was watching Boys in the Hood, and I just watched the beginning of it. And 30 years ago, John Singleton was telling us this 30 years ago of what was going to happen to our neighborhood, and it actually happened. Then, you know, again, you know, they find out this stuff doesn't work. They give people Section 8 so they can go out into the suburbs or wherever they're going to go, right? And then the bullshit follows them there. And now it's like they're realizing that doesn't work because all the white people and people are complaining about the Blacks coming into the neighborhoods and the Trump scare tactics and all that other stuff, which is forcing us to go back and, like you said, round us up. But we get these messages in these movies subliminally, but it's amazing to me that how many people don't pick up on all these messages. Like I said, I got my friend visiting me here, and we were watching certain movies and certain TV shows, and I was okay, good example. We went and got Wonder Woman 1984, right? I was, you know, yeah, terrible movie, but we wanted to see it just to see what, you know, because I heard it was a really bad movie, right? But I was picking out all of the bad writing and the plot points in the movie. And my friend was picking up a few of them too, but not a lot, you know, because she didn't really want to see the movie. But, you know, these things are in these movies, these messages are in these movies, and it's so fascinating to me how we don't pick up on the messages that are sent in some of these movies. No matter how far-fetched the movie is, if you look at the plot points, it's going to tell you something about what's happening either today or coming up in the future.
No, absolutely. I always watch movies and try to see if there's something I can extract from it. All right, so let me get to you guys' comments, and thank y'all for listening to us talk about that for just a second. All right, and so where did I leave off? And Jeremy said, good evening to all. And Moni says, Demetra and Donovan, Zillow has some wonderful eyeglass frames that are super cheap. Matter of fact, I'm buying me some in the next week, going to buy me about 10 different pair. You'll see how luxury. Okay, I have to check it out. And if you guys are in, somewhere on Facebook watching this and you want me to read your comments, please click the link and come over. I'd love to do that. And Moni says, I mean, looking at my beautiful hosts, and I appreciate you both. I hope it's not too hot in Texas, although I hear a lot of heat waves in California burning down many things. I don't understand why. Mother Nature and karma are not happy, to say the least. And Monet, how you doing? And Cosmo, what's going on with you? You say N-word killers are scary to white. I say we have a KKK viewing. You crazy. Yeah, Candyman, I ain't gonna give it to y'all. Y'all go watch it if you want. Off the rip, did I like the movie? Yeah. I could have waited for it to come to DVD, if you will. Jordan Peele, like I said, as my, it sounds like he had some other people writing the movie. To me, it seems like he's getting a little lazy. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Hey, Sunlight, how you doing? And thank you for the donation. I appreciate that. I got it right before I came on here. And Moni says, I want to see no more scary movies like Candyman, Freddy Krueger, Jason. While it was fun in the 80s and 90s, it's too demonic. Don't know if you guys like scary movies.
I love scary movies. I love them. And of course, I'm sitting next to Dr. Loomis. I
love scary movies. Y'all see my new shirt, Michael Myers? Yes. Anyway, I hope I didn't.
October's right around the corner. So are you getting your? Because I got my costumes. So.
Well, you're wearing one now, right? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. See, God don't like ugly. I almost choked. How you doing, Eric? And Ravana, hi, Raynova. How you doing? And Jafia, you say, good evening, everybody. Yes, indeed. And Herman, how you doing?
Raynovir?
Raynova. It's not, it doesn't look, it's not so pronounced like it's not spelled like it's pronounced.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. And Herman, how you doing? Robin, yes. And Pioneer says they're lying about crime getting out of control and gangs so organized they sniped at cops. I got my glasses on, y'all. These people allowed crime to get out of control in the projects as an excuse to tear them down anyway. Yes, and that's what they said too as well, is that it was controlled, right? It was controlled chaos. Let's let it get out of control. We won't send police officers in there, and snipers, they said, was a regular thing. Like they were just up there just picking people off, and they picked off a few police officers throughout that time. And so they said, yeah, a lot of police officers were just like, yeah, y'all can have that. That's really the danger zone up in there. And Jafia said there are still more blacks in Harlem's, but the spirit is not the same. Yes, that's what I understand. That, hey, don't be going to look for no Renaissance up in there, right? And Cortez, how you doing? Ramona says, Demetra, I would love to know, how do you feel about the new laws taking place in the new week where you cannot teach critical race theory? You can walk around with your open concealed carry on you always. Well, I know it's unpopular in my opinion about critical race theory. I don't care. And I'm not saying it to be mean. I don't care if they teach it in school. You know why I don't care? And I know people say, well, I'm
teaching that at home.
Well, not only that, people's like, well, it's our tax dollars too, and all this other stuff. Y'all trusting them people to teach y'all kids about who they are? You think they gonna teach it right? They've never taught, anything about black people from slavery on. They never taught it right. I tell you guys the story all the time. When I went to my daughter's 5th grade parent-teacher night, I looked into her history book, and the first paragraph about slavery was, oh, the slave masters were so kind to their slaves. I was furious. Yeah, I was furious, and I walked up to her teacher. I said, don't teach my daughters. I said, I've not taught her that slavery was cute and that this was something nice. He's talking about on Sunday, they get the day off, and, the slave master would give them nice food to eat. I said, don't teach my daughter that. Don't teach her that. So they not going to teach it right. They not.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like I said, I was watching Boys in the Hood this morning, and it's funny how we're talking on this subject. What was the first part of Boys in the Hood? Remember? Anybody remember? He was in class and he was clowning, and the teacher said, well, Mr. Stiles, why don't you come up and teach the class? And the little boy got up, and he was telling the kids about Africa. Because remember, she was teaching the Pilgrims.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And so as far as concealed, the word Texas is allowing people to walk around with the guns with no permits and all of that. I mean, I would just say use wisdom. Use wisdom, And I used to say, let's go to the countryside where the air is fresher, okay? And it sounds like you say, Donovan, sure thing. I just listened to your family tree story. I was dead. God.
Sunlight is going through my videos, and I appreciate you going through them and everything. And she's seeing some of our old videos where I was acting up and stuff. So she's getting good comedy relief. Yeah, good comedy relief in them.
Fool. And Robin says, once you start seeing sidewalk stop lights traffic signs, etc. The community is on its way to being gentrified. Yep.
Wait a minute though, Robin. You know, and I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing at all. Isn't that sad that we think it's normal not to have what, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but you know what I'm saying? We should have traffic signs and sidewalk stuff. Why is it that it's normal in our community that we don't have what the other communities have, but yet we have representatives that have been there for years that could have rectified that situation? And I'm not talking about Congress. I'm talking about what Demetra and I always talk about. It's your local officials. But we're so used to going without, we think it's normal.
Right. And it says it's a 25-year cycle, gentrification. Yes, indeed. The Pioneer says, this reminds me of the convo we had Friday about Newsom. Roosevelt was one of the best presidents and built free housing for the people. And these right-wing clowns have been trying to sabotage it. Well, of course, you guys know Roosevelt was forced into doing anything for Black people. Black people we've always had it bad in America, but especially after the Great Depression, we were starving literally to death. He did not want to do anything for Black people. His wife actually made him, and he needed the Negro in order to be successful in the presidency. And really at that time, we were, predominantly Republicans, and that was how we began to switch over to the Democratic Party due to FDR's New Deal. That included us. And so,
and nobody ever talks about the Negroes after World War II that tried to enjoy the New Deal and the GI benefits that were afforded to all people who fought in the wars. Black people were redlined specifically not to use their benefits. My grandfathers are two guys that had benefits that were forced to raise a family in a one-bedroom shack or house.
Yep, true stuff. And Sunlight says that Donovan, who's this baby daddy, them? He says, you don't need to know all that. Yeah, that's Donovan's family tree. Monet says, Black people come to Kentucky. Cost of living is low. Jobs are around. Too many white people, though. You can get a 3-bedroom house for $200,000. Please come, please. I never thought about moving to Kentucky.
Well, you know what? And I'm not displaying Kentucky, but when you have Negroes that can't get justice for a woman that's murdered in her sleep, I think I would pass on Kentucky.
Right. Hey, Brandon, how you doing? I see some mess. You say Kevin Samuels was trying to tell up to?
Tell us to.
Oh, tell us to. Okay. Somebody had to enter Kevin Samuels into the chat, huh? Sunlight says, indeed, art imitates
life. Yeah.
Wait. I saw the word, but my mind kept on wanting to say something else.
Okay, look, I need to do what Fred Sanford used to do. Go to your drawer with all your different glasses. And
No. My daughter's like, are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. I saw the word, but I couldn't bring it out of my mouth. I don't think I'm having a stroke or nothing. I'm okay. Anyway, yes, it does, by the way. And Pioneer says, I think one of the best solutions for crime is for us to organize, build, and control our own communities. That way we can protect them and decide who should be locked up instead of our own racist enemies. Yes, indeed. Huh? Oh, my daughter's talking to me. And Sunlight says that Donovan, you were I am reading that right. You were talking about your double cousin in the family tree.
Yeah. That's a true story. Believe it or not, it's a true story. I know you're laughing, but it's true.
Hey, Art, how you doing? Jafai say the ambiance of Harlem is no more. The people were the reason for the ambiance. Now it's more like being in an area of Italy or some other European country. Yeah, that's what I heard. That's too bad because I really wanted to go. I've been before a couple times, but I want to really go and spend some time there and like try to soak up some of the rich history because I love the Harlem Renaissance, but it sounds like it's not really popping like that anymore, which is unfortunate. And Mona, you say here in Detroit, when they put a Starbucks like they have here off of Woodward and Mac is in the immediate downtown area, or they'll keep it in the suburbs like Troy, Bloomfield, Lansing, nice areas only. Yeah, I noticed that's the way it is in Houston too. I've never seen so many Whole Foods and stuff like that until I moved to Houston, but they're not in, our neighborhoods. You got to go I mean, they got a Whole Foods and a Trader Joe's right across the street. Where in the hell do they do that at? You know what I'm saying? Uh, Shemesh, how you doing? He says, hello, pretty lady, and Donovan. Well, thank you. And yeah, I'm sure Brandon talking about I'm just playing. I always got to talk about some Kevin Samuels. And Moni says, I can say this much. I would look forward to Detroit having a good 80% of gender. I think he meant gentrification. As I'm tired of most of it being raggedy and broke down, except for downtown areas. Let's be clear. Yeah, most places they are now, because most downtowns is where we used to live predominantly, but now they're getting rid of us, moving us out and making it all schwanky.
Right, but let me ask Moni this and anybody else that could probably answer this question. It's just like the movie Boys in the Hood. He explained why gentrification happens. They let the crime go and all this other stuff and raise the rents and just make it a hellhole so that the developer could come in and get it for pennies on the dollar. Now, if we live in those neighborhoods, like Demetra and I have been saying for 6 years, going on 6 years now, if Demetra probably longer than that, we live in those neighborhoods. Are we teaching our kids to pick up the trash, or are we just letting them throw the trash out in the street and just do what they got to do? Are we calling in the graffiti removal team to clean up the graffiti? They have apps that can do. I walk my neighborhood all the time. When I see graffiti, I'm letting these kids know you're not going to take over the neighborhood. So I'm not saying it's really our fault, but why is it in our community we are so damn dependent on other people solving our problems when we can solve it ourselves?
Very good point. Very good point. And Moni says, when they say affordable housing here in Michigan, they got a tax rule that if you try to go back to school for anything other than 30 days, they will evict you immediately, which is bull crap. Well, is it bull crap or is it part of the plan? We don't want you to get educated and move up out of here. We want you to stay here and be ignorant. Not that saying you're not going to school makes you smart or not, but we don't want you to better yourself. We want you to stay right here. In fact, we want most of you to stay here. Public housing is 50% of people that live in public housing are Black people. So they don't want you to, move on up as you will. They want you to stay right there.
And then you got to ask yourself this once again. Let's look at ourselves. And like I said, I'm tired of blaming the white man for something we should be doing for ourselves. It's like water. Water goes to where there's the least amount of resistance, correct? Correct. Why is it that there are people in our community that will take the least resistance and then complain? Who wants to stay ignorant? If they say, I have to go educate myself, or if I educate myself, it's going to put me in a better situation, why wouldn't I want to do that?
Yes, indeed. And Sunlight says, Demetra, you're welcome. I'm going to be able to support the new Black media with 4 figures one day. I'm claiming that. I know that's right. I want to claim it too, that I'm able to do that for, our people as well. That's a good thing to claim. And, I receive it as well. Pioneer says, oh no, Jordan Peele getting lazy and letting white dudes on the team to write for him. I don't know if that's the case, but said that was my boy, the Spike Lee of the 2000s. He made his best movies before letting so many Caucasians in. So I don't know if that's the case, but if it is, it was just kind of, to me, it was just all over the place, right? It was just, I don't know. Y'all watch it. It's early, but it made a lot of money. It made $22,000 on Friday, the first day. So
22 million or 1,000?
Huh?
Is it 1 million or 1,000?
No, 22,000. No, I mean 22 million. I'm tripping. Sorry, 22 million. I knew that number was kind of low, right? That was the coffee budget for the movie.
That would be considered a box office bomb.
Right. No, so I'm sorry, 22 million, I guess, which is good, right? Opening day. And Pioneer, you say, oh no, I read that. I'm tripping. You know what? I haven't had very much sleep, but I will get to sleep tonight. Arson, how you doing? He says, hey guys, I just arrived. How are you too? And he says, this is my last weekend to hit the theater up here because I'm not jabbed. So you two got me curious. I'll go watch Candyman now. You guys have a great show and thank you. Have fun. Oh, we will. So are they putting in stipulations there in Canada that you guys can't move about unless you get jabbed up? Well, it's like that here too.
Papers, please. Show us that you've been vaccinated. Papers, please.
Moni says the only thing that affordable housing benefits is those that might be senior citizen or those that have kids or a single person. Unfortunately, with no kids, I am caught between the middle of nothing. Yes, so it's affordable housing is for people with kids. I think they said about 36% of public housing is made up of people with kids. Then the rest is seniors, and then the rest are singles, that I guess are in a situation that will qualify them for public housing. And Marty says, recently, Demetra, I live in a building that's owned by a ball player that used to be Detroit Tigers and Blue Jay player that's been on the news consistently 2 weeks from having a dead body decomposing. Ugh. Well, I know I wouldn't be wanting to live over there. Wow. And Robin said, exactly. They never taught our history without whitewashing it. So I don't care about critical race theory. I don't either. I mean, like I said, why this is the one thing that really just frustrates me, and forgive me, y'all, if I'll probably end up getting flustered again, is that we're expecting them to teach them, our children, what we should be teaching them. You don't hear the Jewish community talking about, well, they won't teach us about us in school. You don't hear Hispanics, Asians, you don't hear them whining and crying about it. Yes, I said whining and crying about it. We spend so much time on nonsense. Oh, the oppressor that brought us over here won't teach us what they really did to us. You should teach it to your own children. Stop sending your children to school green about who they are. Now, that is American history. What they've done to Black people in this country since the Middle Passage, that is American history. It's not all Black history, it's part of it, but that is American history. And you are a fool if you expect them to teach your child about the stuff they did to them. Like, let's move on and, let's talk about opening our own schools. Send your kid to school so when Miss Ann stand up in the classroom talking about, oh, the slave masters was nice to us, your child will be like, that's a lie from the pit of hell because my mama and my daddy taught me differently. Like, we waste so much time arguing over stupid shit. Excuse me. Anyway, Monty says, to have a man brutally stabbed that I have on tape, and wow, it has made national news here in Michigan, and to be what's the word? Retaliated? Okay, retaliated against because I have to sue him for bed bugs, scars, and injuries. Wow, now that's a slumlord. I'm sorry. I think I'll be trying to find somewhere else to stay.
Are you really thinking that it's a slumlord? Are you sure this isn't a real life Candyman situation?
Right. Damn, shit. And Jerome, if I haven't already, hello. He says, pray for New Orleans. So is it jumping off? I haven't seen anything since I came on here, but yes, definitely, because that's horrible to have to keep moving and leaving every time hurricane season happens. Leather Luxury Cars, how you doing? Arson says, correct. Then the other students called him an African booty scratcher, quote unquote, after they got schooled, if my memory serves me right.
Correct. And remember, and here's the good thing about that one, Arson. In Boys in the Hood, because I like to look at the plot points, he kept saying, my daddy taught me. My daddy told me. That's how important. I know you women think you don't need no man and all this other stuff, but for young boys, it is important that the father or a positive male role model's there to teach him what he needs to know to be a leader in our community. You sisters, I know y'all are tired. Oh, I'm tired of leading and stuff like that. Okay, let's get these men where they're supposed to be so they can naturally lead like they're supposed to.
Yes, indeed. And Morning says, no help from the city that should regulate slumlords, even though you may not owe them any money, they still get to evict you. This is bull crap as far as I'm concerned.
Real quick with Moni. Remember, Demetra, I used to go to city council and I pitched a bitch. Now, I don't live in a rental or anything like that, but I had Dolores Jimson, who was the council member, actually sue the slumlords for the way they were keeping their property. And guess what? They did it, and the slumlord got their shit together, because when it comes down to money and money they don't want to spend, they got their shit together. So you don't necessarily have to, that's what I'm saying. We're always wanting somebody else to fix our problems. If you have a problem with the slumlord, go to your city council, go to your representative and say, this is what's going on, and legally you're supposed to do this. Because I did it.
Yes, indeed. And Carney says, I agree with you, sis. I don't care one way or the other about whether they teach critical race theory. I think it's a big distraction. Why the hell are they going around asking if they can teach it anyway? Just do it. Exactly. Right. And Moni says, I never thought about owning a home until recently. I'm giving myself a year to get fully on my feet so that I might be able to look into buying a house. I'm tired of renting from slumlords. Yeah, that's the move. I mean, it really is. And Robin says, exactly, Donovan, I agree. And Kojo, how you doing? He says, good evening from Brooklyn, everybody. And Jafai says, also, when you see the city revamping the local parks, they are preparing for gentrification. Yes, indeed. Right? Like the swing's been broken for 40 years, and all of a sudden, here come a whole new get up, right? And somebody says that Donovan, exactly, another score for reparations due. Yes, indeed. And Jafai says, Roosevelt's wife is the reason the Tuskegee Airmen were able to exist. Yeah. And at one point in time, they actually called her the real president, because after a while, he became,
remember, he was with a side chick. He had a side chick. So he was busy doing
didn't they all, right? Brandon says, you two are the definition of real Black media. I love it. Thank you so much for that compliment. It means a lot coming from you. And Marty says, the one thing I realized, Demetra, here in Michigan, if you live in areas like Royal Oaks or Troy, Bloomfield, Birmingham, Clinton Township, those are the better areas if you can afford $1,000 to $1,500. Yeah, I mean, and that's really becoming the norm as far as the rent. To $1,500 is good. I moved from California where, $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment is nothing.
And you're in Beirut.
Right. Yeah, that's not even like no good stuff. It's just, that's what we charge. And the housing market is so outrageous now. People are just charging just ridiculous stuff, right? So a lot of people are having just to live together to even, try to make it, right? And hey, Pamela, how you doing? And Moni says, I think that's a good thing. I think I want to try, see if I can afford it, and then step into a house only after I have significant money saved. I'm tired of slumlords, totally. Yeah, I mean, and having a house is an investment, right? A lot of times people move into houses and they don't have enough money to maintain it. And, it's a large undertaking, but you're on the right track. Save up and do it right, opposed to just jumping in a, giant payment and in the taxes. And it's a lot.
Yeah, and here's another thing too. Depending on your economic situation, there are programs that will pay your down payment and will help you, get a house. The thing is, you've got to put the work to go find it. You've got to put the work to go find it. They're there. Trust me, I know. Do you know, as a Black woman right now, there are scholarships out there that will pay your full education. All you got to do is learn to fly an airplane, maybe, or whatever. But we don't go into those fields. I mean, they're there. The white women are jumping on it. The Hispanic women are jumping on it. But even in aviation, we have communications degrees. We have business degrees. If you go into that field, there's whole scholarships that will pay for your whole education.
Yep. Hello, Antoine. How you doing? He says, hello, Queen, Demetra, Brother Donovan, and Room. And Jafai says, Kentucky and West Virginia houses the largest number of whole white people. Okay. Pioneer says, you're absolutely correct, sis. The New Deal was designed to get the nation out of the Great Depression. Whether he did it grudgingly or happily, the fact is Roosevelt did it. Who's doing it now? Yeah, I mean, he did it.
Wait. How dare you talk about Joe Biden? Joe Biden did 30 days. He did all that stuff for all those people, except the people that got him elected. Oops, sorry, never mind.
Yeah, you don't open up a can of worms with that one. And Morning says, I'm also tired of slumlords, which much rather throw you out, but allow somebody to sell drugs and tear up their place. But when you're the type that will call and complain, they want hurry up and get you out. Yeah, that's a fact. They want mentally sleep people there who don't know the rules or the laws, and that allow them to do any and everything to them. I lived in an apartment building once when I was first moved to Houston years ago. It wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't the worst either. But the hot water had went out. And so I went and asked my neighbors, I was like, yeah, hot water working? And they said, no, but they said the last time we told them that the hot water went out, they told us it wasn't a luxury. I said, that's a lie. I said, it's not having anything to do with a luxury. It's a right. I said, are y'all serious? Y'all let these people get away with it? So what I did, I called them. I said, we need some hot water ASAP. And I said, these people running around here telling about y'all said it's not a luxury and it's not something that y'all have to take care of right away. I said, I tell you what, if I call housing on y'all ass, y'all gonna get it together. And guess what we had? Hot water. But they rent to people who just don't know. I mean, Google is free. See if, the things that are going wrong in your apartment is legal. And if it's something the landlord is supposed to be fixing, if they don't, file on their ass.
And just think about this. If your landlord illegally evicts you, he's got to pay for the next spot you're moving to. It's going to take some time, but there's a process to all of this.
You got to know the laws. And one who cares how you doing says, grand evening, Demetra and Donovan. And Moni say, when you have a permanent supportive housing, which is similar to Section 8, but for those of us that are disabled to make it so hard that you can't come out there, they'll have to rent at $1,000 compared. Okay. And NIE says Whole Foods and Trader Joe's are on the same road, on the same side in Albany, New York. There's a lot of them like that here in Houston, which I was blown away. Because even in California, we don't have that many Whole Foods, right? Okay, let's see here. My comments jumped up. Okay, I'm gonna catch up really quick, y'all. And Pamela says, I'm not gonna go see Candyman movie. Yeah, if you don't like scary movies, don't go see it. Mona says, compared to just a measly $820 single rent payment for someone with no kids, which is asinine, but a person with a child, you'll pay $1,150. Why not just pay that for a single person so they can have a place? And Pioneer says, I live in a city where they have a Whole Foods and Trader Joe's across from each other. I'll keep it real. I love Whole Foods because of the variety of healthy, quote unquote, and organic, quote unquote, foods, but don't care for Trader Joe's. I love them both. I go to both of those more than I go to the regular stores because, like you said, the quality of food is loads differently. It's a little bit more expensive. Yeah, but you should care what you put into your body, right? So that's kind of why I do it. And Pamela says, I will not see the Candyman movie. Okay, and Jamarcus, how you doing? Brotham, how you doing? Says, hi, Black First. And Jafia says, you are right, Donovan. In the meantime, we are busy trying to help other groups solve their problems with America. The problem at the border comes to mind. Yes, Eric says, Donovan, broken glass theory is still in effect. Yes, indeed. And Jafia says, we are the only people who fight for everybody else and expect the white man to do for us. Yep. Critical race theory. Mad because they won't teach us that in school. Like, what the hell? Mona says, now the most offensive thing to me, Donovan, is when you're disabled and you're on one of their programs and they're going to pay $820. They got the problem, want to pay $200 more to live better, really, which is crap. Says, I was told after being homeless that I wasn't good enough to live in a quality environment, but I'm good enough to live where somebody has to be stabbed in my doorway and on the news, August 3rd, 2021. Yeah, that's, but you know what though? We convene here every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday with the premise of we need to do for self, right? We need to do for self to where our people don't have to live in those environments. And then the other part of it, like Donovan said, is we got to take care of it once we get it. Like the city council people and the Congress people of those neighborhoods, our neighborhoods, they don't care, but we live there. We should care. It shouldn't be garbage everywhere and all of that. We should care. So, we need to get it together. And Shemesh says, I'm from DC. It's changed there too. Shame. Plus they're trying to shut Go-Go down when it was there before they got there. So you talking about the music and the culture and all of that. Yeah, white people really. I heard, saw a story where they were trying to, I guess, because certain places in the neighborhood they play go-go music and it's loud and people are celebrating and stuff. Well, the colonizer got in there and wanted to shut it down. And it's like, all right, well, we're gonna have a louder party. How about that? Arson says, Pamela, I wasn't going either, but up in Montreal, Canada, starting September, the unvaccinated won't be allowed to attend non-essential activities. Yeah, that's the way it's going on here too. They closing in on people. And Martin says, I am also good to have to deal with. I think I'm also going to have to deal with somebody who died in an apartment up under me, and it's on the news August 16th, which was last week. And because I'm suing a landlord for bed bug infestation, injuries, something, because it's all ran together. Hello, Olivia. How you doing?
I think she's basically saying bed bug injuries and retaliation.
Got it. Okay. And Marty also says, so I have made up in my mind that this is the last year that I'm going to put up with having to be in any more raggedy dumps because I am disabled and I have somebody having no problem with it when I do. Yeah, do your best to get out of there. How you doing, chocolate girl? The Pioneer says, Brother Donovan, to your point about blaming white folks for their problems, it's been nearly 20 years since Katrina and plenty of time for Black folks to leave New Orleans, but so many are still there for Ida. There you go. You know, at some point in time, we got to say, all right, Bush showed his ass during Katrina. He doesn't look like, you know, Joe Biden would be any more help. He was in the Senate then, you know, when Katrina took place. So you're absolutely right. And Brandon says, I live in Stockton, California, where they have 5 Amazon distribution warehouses and they're still building more. And they have so many low income apartments that they're building, and they're still building more like it's is the city. If you don't have a place to live or a job, you're not trying. Yep, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah, you know the funny thing, Brandon, I live in a warehouse city as well, and the thing is, and they're just throwing apartments up everywhere. But you got to remember, when you have like a 5 Amazon distribution centers, slaves need a place to sleep and be closer to their jobs and stuff like that. And as you know, Stockton is notorious for being a distribution center in the 70s, and it imploded in the late 90s or whatever, or the 90s,
2000s.
Yeah, and then started making a comeback right after putting in Amazon there. People keep forgetting logistic preys on high Latino and poor Black populations. That's why they set up in Stockton, where I live, in Houston, where there's a high Black Hispanic population. That's how logistic thrives.
Yep. I mean, it's just a fact. And they don't put their corporate offices there. The corporate offices are in Orange County and, the places where white people live. Right. Yeah, they put the manual labor warehouses where we are. So Donna was absolutely right. Jafia says here in New York City, they are actually more Hispanics in public housing than Blacks. And that's probably just due to, them being more in population in a lot of places, especially like in California.
Well, don't worry, Jafia, the Afghans are coming.
Right. It says over about 120,000 Afghans have been brought over here to date. And I saw that. I only know that because I saw Kamala Harris bragging about it.
Yes. And they're going to be given all the resources that they need to be a successful group here within the United States. For all we know, and I'm not trying to stereotype, you can't tell me some of those people aren't anti-American. You know what I mean? How do you know if it's a sleeper? You don't know. They weren't vetted. You don't know.
Right. How do you know some Taliban didn't get on that damn plane? And Robin says, exactly, Demetra. And one who cares says, absolutely, exactly. And Moni says, Donovan, you are right. It's subliminal messages. The handwriting is on the wall for me. And had it not been for this pandemic, many of us would be outdoors, plain and simple. But I trust in God always. Yeah, well, trust in God and make it do what it do too, right? And Anais says, we need to have our own everything. That's the key right there. Pioneer says, if New Orleans is a giant fishbowl prone to hurricanes, floods, why the hell would you rebuild and stay there only to complain about getting drowned out or blown away when you could have moved? I don't get that either.
Yeah, well, check this out, Pioneer. What did a good majority of the Blacks move to? Houston. You're still in the hurricane zone. You're still subjected to the hurricane.
Right. Yeah, not as bad though, right? And we're not as below sea level as New Orleans, but like you said, it's a bowl, right? And I'm sure it's a nice place to visit, the Essence Festival and, the French Quarters and all of that, but I don't think I would be living up in there. I'm sorry. Hello, Thunder. How you doing? And I says, I love my daddy. My father is a king. Yes, indeed. And Olivia says, I don't think that way as a woman. We do need men. Okay. That's a fact. Hello, Raw Vital Vegetarian. I hope I said that right. And he says, greetings, my brethren and sister and yard. Yes, indeed. The Pioneer says, no, Moni isn't going through a Candyman situation. You have a lot of slumlords in Detroit because the housing is so cheap. You have a lot of people who own buildings who shouldn't and can't maintain them. And they don't want to maintain them. They know who they got up in there. They know they got people who, don't know the rules and people who are vulnerable because it's like, damn, if I complain, they're going to put me out and then where I'm going to go. And then maybe some people are behind on their rent. And they, if they complain about water leaking or whatever, then they going to, the air and the heat ain't working, then he going to be mad and put me out. And so they know the type of people they have in there and they love it. They don't want no educated people in there. They want people they can run game on.
Yeah, you know, the funny thing there's a show on YouTube that I saw that they were about this guy that takes care of properties for landlords that live in other countries and other states and stuff right there in Detroit. And you know, you got bad situations where people are, you know, number one, like you said something about the drugs. A lot of the landlords don't want any waived when with these people that are selling drugs out of there because they're getting a cut of the money, so that the drug guy can sell his money there. Then you have like these single moms that are there. You got these landlords that are taking advantage of them. You know, the girl might not come up with a lot of rent, so she sleeps with the landlord or the property manager just to, you know, just for her kids. I mean, I forgot the name of the show, but it's actually a really good show as this guy is trying to show what is going on in Detroit and the housing up there. And it's just sad. And, you know, and it makes me wonder, I could almost guarantee the representatives in that area are black and ain't doing a damn thing about it. Because if I found out about it way down here in California, you can't tell me a representative right there in Detroit doesn't know that this kind of slumlording is going on.
Yes, indeed. And Marnie said you may have a good point that they let crime happen there in Detroit. I've seen many areas from Chicago to Tire Man to Plymouth to Schoolcraft to Matt to Jefferson, totally raggedy. But this is what Section 8. And Rainey, how you doing? I see you comment. You say Obama had a side dude. Your Marnie says Section 8. I'm noticing for a person with kids will pay more moderate area for someone single for you to live in inhabitable dumps. Personally, I've had enough of it. Well, I'm glad that you've had enough. You also say the pioneer, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, my comments jumped up. You said, where'd it go?
They make too cheap of property.
Got it.
That's why I can't wait to get the hell up and out and of it. So can stop having worthless bums owning it. Yeah. If you guys want to see poverty stricken, go to Soweto, South Africa. 20, 30 years after apartheid ended, blacks are in a worse condition since our apartheid ended.
Yeah, Penelope, how you doing? It says the real estate agents know all about the home buying programs. Yes, indeed. And she said, I paid $1,500 to live on 4th and Cherry in Long Beach. It was a studio. You have to buy a refrigerator and stove. In most cases, it was not rent control there. Yeah, California don't really have a lot of rent control laws at all.
You're in Long Beach, so you're probably renting actually $1 million property because you're right there in Long Beach.
Mm-hmm. Pioneer says bed bugs are bad in Detroit too. I had an experience with bed bugs years ago that I won't forget. For some reason, they're worse than roaches. Bed bug infestation will literally give you nightmares. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I will sleep outside. I'm sorry. I'll be outside in the car. My God. Jafia says, D, a lot of times these tenants don't complain because they're illegal and they don't want the attention. Yeah, and that's true for people who aren't illegal. They just don't want the attention. Well, we'll just endure it. We won't say nothing. Shit. They better not get a tenant like me. Moni says, the pioneer, there is a law in Michigan that you can sue an owner for not making you aware of this, that his place or her place is infested. And I'm going through that right now as we speak. Yeah, they have to get the place up to code. There is no, well, we'll get to it, right? Jafia says, I like Whole Foods, but the cost of fish and seafood is ridiculous. Yeah, but you know what? I have a philosophy. I'm shopping where the white folks shop. You know why? Because they ain't going to try to kill them. So I'm where they.
Wait a minute. Wait a damn minute. You're shopping where the white folks shop, but you fly Spirit Airlines.
That's why I got to fly Spirit, because I'm shopping where they shop. Shit, I got to cut. Right. You know what I mean? I got to sacrifice something, right? I mean, the Spirit is ratchet as hell, but what ain't, right? Pioneer says that there are too many rules and regulations and stipulation when it comes to housing vouchers in Section 8. We need secure and well-maintained public housing. Yeah, crime was high, but it beats being homeless. Yeah, and unfortunately, in our neighborhoods, in the Section 8 of properties or the high rises, we'll call them that, the projects, they just let. It's like a gladiator arena, right? It's horrible, and they should do something about it.
Yeah, you know, the funny thing is, when I left Japan and I came back as a military person, they switched the housing because, Japan wants their land back. So what they did was they took the land from the housing and gave that part back to the base, because somebody had this great idea to put military housing people into these projects. They built these skyscrapers. This was a great idea. Look, we can get all these families in these skyscrapers and we can just take care of it and everything like that. That thing lasted 20 years. All of those skyscrapers are closed down. Now, this is in the military family housing because it wasn't working. It doesn't work. Kids need a place to play. People need to fight in privacy, couples or whatever they're doing. And millions of your tax dollars went to build these high rises overseas that got shut down within 20 years.
Shame. And Donna says, please check out my podcast and old videos if you want to see how Demetra and I started back in the day. Yes, indeed. And Shemesh says, what does $1,500 get you in Houston? You can still get a pretty good apartment for $1,500 in Houston. But my daughter and I were looking around yesterday, and there's apartments going from $1,500 to $5,000 in one building overlooking the freeway, the 45 freeway. I'm like, what the hell does a $5,000 a month apartment in Houston even look like? I'm assuming maybe it's the penthouse or something, but to overlook the freeway?
Do you remember those off the University Avenue? They built some lofts, like when you go through that tunnel right across from the Applebee's. Now, that was an old, dilapidated area here in Riverside, California. Those lofts are going for $1,600 studio.
You said 16?
16.
It's more than that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was a studio.
I saw something that was going for $2,900 a month. $1,600 is a steal. Hello, Janelle. How you doing? And Pamela, you says, I have seen Boys in the Hood, the first 2 acts. Okay. And Mona says, Demetra and Donovan, I want you to imagine this. You leave from abusive spouse to an abusive situation in general. You're placed into a program because you've been made to be homeless, to have someone to tell you. And I think your comment cut off. And Pioneer says, the problem with many Black neighborhoods is many of the professionals and intelligent Black folks would rather just leave the hood and let it turn into a ghetto instead of checking the negative element. Yeah, in all fairness, and Donovan, I put your YouTube and your Facebook in the description box as well. So if you guys want to follow Donovan, Pioneer, I agree with you, but I think in some of our neighborhoods it's gotten so bad to where it's just extremely dangerous, right? I mean, a lot of those people they just don't give a damn, right? And so a lot of people are like, it's not worth me losing my life over. It's bigger than, I think, it's gotten bigger than the people, I would think, in the communities. Because for one, a lot of the men, aren't there anymore, whether they're in jail, they're just not there, whatever, right? So I think there needs to be something bigger than the people in the neighborhood to help get rid of that element.
Yeah, so a real quick story right here near my park. I literally saw a sister move furniture out of her apartment and put it like by this wall. She dumped this couch or something by the wall, which to me doesn't make sense because all you have to do is call Waste Management and they'll pick it up.
They're going to pick it up anyway, so just call them.
Yeah, just call them.
Yeah, that's did you say something to her?
No, because you can't speak to a Black woman, especially around here. But you know what I mean? I'm looking at her and she's on camera doing this. Cameras everywhere. And it's like and I'm thinking to myself, if she is doing that, what is she teaching her children? All you got to do is make a phone call and say, hey, I've got some stuff out here. She lives in an apartment. All you got to do is put it by the trash bin. They're going to pick it up.
Yeah, and unfortunately in our neighborhoods, they do a lot of dumping, right? And Mona says to have someone to tell you that you're not good enough to live in a clean environment, turn up their nose because you're expecting for something to be clean at the government's expense. Really? Pioneer says, laugh out loud. I'm telling y'all, bed bugs ain't no joke. Also, they're much quicker to bite you than roaches. See, y'all lost me. Y'all said a couple weeks back that roaches be biting.
Yeah, I didn't know roaches bite. I know some of them fly in Japan and Asia. They got these big roaches that be flying.
But be biting? So that's what they do. One night, one of them jokers got so much blood from me, it had to wobble away. Ooh.
Well, the good thing is I have so much anthrax and stuff inside me that the military gave me in vaccinations and stuff. When even the mosquitoes don't bother me. They bite me, they're dead.
They said that's the danger zone over there. And Martin said, so I was saying to Demetra and Donovan, I love mixed areas. I do not never want to live in a Black area, the ghetto. Too many individuals waiting you to go to work or leave to go to school to break into your home. Now that's sad.
See, and I'm not saying you shouldn't feel that way, Moni, but see, like me, you would consider me bougie because I was never raised in the ghetto. I was a military kid, right? But one thing I do know, I have no fear of living with among my people. I just have no fear because what it is I can live here and people are going to respect me because I respect the neighborhood. Who's going to stop you because you're picking up trash? Who's going to stop you because you're trying to clean up the graffiti? Nobody. You just let people do what they're doing. They're going to let you do what they're doing. I just don't think I would ever be afraid to live among my people.
Well, while you're not may not be afraid, I mean, she's speaking some real facts there. I mean, just, you know.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying, she should feel that way. That ain't what I'm saying. I'm saying,
yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would be afraid, but it would be annoying to come home and my shit been stolen. You know, I've had my house broken into twice, you know, and once I did live downtown when I was really young. Somebody broke in and stole a lot of valuable things, which is why I don't buy valuable jewelry anymore. I had those things taken, some of my daughter's keepsakes. And then once when I lived in a, pretty good neighborhood, well, I know what happened with that, but my house was, ransacked and broken into. So yeah, it's a horrible feeling.
But just do what I do, Demetra. You know what I do? At least every other month, my neighbors see me in my front porch cleaning my guns and doing what I got to do. You come down here, you can do whatever you want. Just don't come down to the bottom of the cul-de-sac.
Right. Morning says, so at the end of the day, the one thing I'm looking forward to is within a year having more than enough money that I can afford to live where I choose and pay it up to 2 years in advance. I know that's right. And Defiance says, laugh out loud, Donovan. I doubt that the Afghans will be placed in New York City.
I think they're already there.
Yeah, they're putting them there. Yeah.
No. But let's even before the Afghans got deported, they were already there.
Yeah, and that's one of the places that they're putting them. He said, or even New York State and Holistic Lifestyle. How you doing? He says, but yet they are turning around the Haitians. Okay, you ain't heard nothing about America helping the Haitians like they're helping the Afghans. Finder says, man, it's been over 5 hours since Ida made a landfall and it's still Category 4 strength. This is going to be one for the records. The nation is going to be cleaning this one up, not for months, but for years. Oh, my God. Yeah, outside here, it's kind of touch and go.
Well, you guys got to remember there's global warming going on, so Ida could be a Category 4 and yet do no destruction.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Rainova. And let's see, and Sunlight says you have to understand New Orleans natives, those born there are connected for generations back. It's a cultural gem. I wouldn't let it go either. Yeah, I just think it would be kind of scary. And I'd imagine it's costly to have to, every time a hurricane is getting ready to hit, you got to pack up what's valuable and whatever you're getting, to get gas and then move, to the next state over for however long, and hotels and missing work. It's just an undertaking. And I feel sorry for, people who have to go through that.
Well, the funny thing is they said statistically a third of New Orleans never returned after Katrina.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, so it just keeps getting hit. Right. And Rainova, you say, they do that sleeping with the landlord. Ooh. To try to pay the rent, right? Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, some people, that's what they doing. I'm glad it don't have to be me. Lord have mercy. Thunder says, if they give another stimulus by a solar power generator, it's only a couple of $100. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, especially if you're living in those situations. And Sunlight, I say, YouTube deleted my previous comment. Gentrification is our fault. We run from the hood when we get money while others run to our hood. Yeah, and they clean it up and it becomes Fort Greene instead of, Bed-Stuy, right?
Well, look at my neighborhood, Demetra. Remember, Edgemont is now, what do they call it?
Something West or something.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's still Edgemont, but they just renamed it.
Yep. Cortez says they are Black, Donovan, and they are Democrats. And Thunder says, let old Joe pay for your peace of mind in emergency. Yeah, okay.
Well, he's not throwing paper towels like your boy Trump did in Puerto Rico.
What an ass. Pioneer says, you're right, since they target people who are so desperate they're willing to live anywhere under any condition and won't complain. Many have serious felonies and can only live in certain places. Yeah, and so they take advantage of those people. And Cortez says, I used to live in Detroit. It's always been the Democratic Party over Detroit, but the Black people there keep voting them in everywhere, right? You also say exactly sunlight. And Miles, how you doing? It says, yep, Chicago born and raised when they tore down Cabrini Green and the other housing project came down. They went into the neighborhoods and surrounding suburbs. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Then crime rose, pretty much everywhere. So yeah, you're right. Pioneer says, Brother Donovan, part of Detroit is represented by one of your favorite congresswomen, laugh out loud, Rashida Tlaib, which I find suspicious that you have an Arab woman representing a mostly black district.
We gotta represent everybody. It don't matter, the Democratic Party. We gotta represent everybody. That's my mom, by the way, you guys.
Thunder says, do some research on solar generators. They are silent and they come in handy. The folks on the Gulf Coast will need them. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I was out at the mall yesterday with my daughter, and I saw a line of us outside of a shoe store. So I don't know, was there a drop on some sort of, fabulous tennis shoe yesterday? I don't know, but there was a line outside of the store. Nevertheless, I think my daughter says some shoe came out. I don't know, but we should be lining up for generators, right? Robin, you say shameful. And Jafia says, why would anybody want to live over a freeway? The exhaust fumes are dangerous as F. Yeah, I was like, it wouldn't be me. What is that? Oh, your solar. That's the Donovan solar stuff.
Now, here's the thing. Solar is really big here in California, whatever. What's the one thing you would think you would need in case the power goes out and whatever? This is a solar charger for your phone. I know we worry about the tower, but, if you wanted to charge your phone, $5 off Amazon, eBay. Just something real simple that'll charge your phone and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's good. Good for food for thought. I'm going to get one as soon as we get off of here. And Thunder says for $1,500 in Houston is rent, but if you work your magic and put in some work, it's a mortgage payment. Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. And Erica says high-rise apartments, aka projects, are a prison setup. Yes, housing poverty-stricken, low-income people in a high-rise setting is recipe for criminal activity. Government notice. Yep.
And in kids' mischief. In the military housing, that was what's happening. You got the kids running up and down the halls, breaking the damn elevator. Remember that episode of Good Times where the elevator was out and Florida them had to go up all the stairs? It's a disaster. But and most of the people that went into those projects in the military are what? Your lower ranking enlisted families. Not saying it's a bad thing, but you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And JJ, how you doing? Says black people need to be the new Chinatown. Chinatown is in every state and countries. We need to do the same and keep it black. Yep. Everywhere you go, they have a Chinatown. They have Koreatown. They have, Indians, even Arabs. Everybody has their own portion of town, but us, we're everywhere.
My question, JJ, what would we call it? Like you said, you got Koreatown, you got Chinatown. You got Armeniaville or whatever. What would we call a black? Okay, cool.
I mean, I'm just saying. And
white politicians saying, yeah, we're going to make Niggerville over here. So I don't know.
Thunder says a good place was DeSoto, Texas. I wonder whatever happened to that town. Pioneer says, I know what you mean. Says sometimes it's not worth it to stay and fight with the thugs, especially when the police don't have your back. But at what point do black men protect the community? Yeah, you know what? That's really for y'all to answer, And I'm not saying that black men don't do it, but we need the black men to stand up and do it like they used to do, right? Y'all saw some mess going on in the neighborhood. Y'all, got together and decided how y'all was going to go about it, and y'all squashed that mess out. Y'all didn't let that kind of stuff rise up. But we know the government had a lot to do with destabilizing the black families in our neighborhood, crack and feminism, a whole bunch of other stuff. And so it was kind of set against you guys, but we need to get back to that, right? Because nobody's coming to save us. In fact, them allowing crime to do what it's doing in our neighborhoods is just a form of eugenics. It is state-sanctioned genocide or city-sanctioned genocide, depending on where you live. They know it goes on and they allow it. They're like, well, let them kill each other, and they're going to do the job for us, right? And Natia, how you doing? Says I stay in a white neighborhood. They still, so either way, it's not safe. Yeah, that's what I said. I lived in both places and had my house burglarized, if you will. So it just depends, right? Jafia, you say there's a real big difference in the hood and the ghettos. I live in a nice hood in the Bronx. Then undesirables move in and turn the hood into a ghetto. Yes, indeed. I know that happened a lot too from Los Angeles people, you should say, who don't always have the best intentions. They moved into the other places like Moreno Valley, Lancaster, and those places. And then, unfortunately, they bring the other elements with them. And Pioneer says, Brother Donovan, you sound like some of my uncles and cousins who like to sit out on their porches and clean their weapons to send a message to the hood, laugh out loud. Right. Like, I just want you to know I got it. Okay.
I've been here so long. People know. They see me walking in the neighborhood. Oh, that's that military guy. Don't. He's not crazy, but he ain't stupid either. Well, some people. Unless you see me on local TV at a city council meeting, then that's different. I get a little crazy when I'm in city council. So.
Paid in full. How you doing? He says, Black First Family. Are they gonna do background checks and mandatory jabs for the Afghan refugees? Well, they said they're going to do it now. Not the mandatory, but they're testing them now. Once they get them situated, then they're going to be tested. But just know they didn't do it when they put them on those planes.
Yeah, you got to remember, mass hysteria. We got to get our friends out. We got to get these people out. Nobody was thinking about this. And there was a thing that they were talking about and how this was done. There's blame in both administrations. Both parties are to blame how this panned out. They did not do any checks. You put I think there was 400 people on that C-17 that was on the news?
More than that. It's like almost 700.
Yeah, 700. That's a C-17. This thing that was a C-5. You can get over 1,000 of those people on there. Nothing was checked. And then you bring them to the United States and let them just run rampant.
Yeah, well, it's not supposed to be, but And a Pioneer says, well, maybe a third of New Orleans didn't return, but I'm trying to figure out why any of them returned. I remember after the storm, white folks were vowing to rebuild as if to challenge Mother Nature. Well, too, it also depends on who you believe. Spike Lee did a documentary called Before the Levees Broke, where, the conspiracy theory, and we'll just call it that, says that the levees were actually purposely blown up. There's a lot of eyewitness or, people who said they heard something like an explosion or something before the levees actually broke. And so.
Well, you got to think about this. Remember, I know you guys get tired of me talking about factual stuff with tax dollars. Do you know how much money was spent to reinforce those levees way before Katrina? Millions and millions of your tax dollars, and it failed. Utterly and completely failed. Was there an investigation about that? Did they sue the government sue the company that built the levees? The Army Corps of Engineers? Did they do a thing? No, nobody was held accountable. Nobody. And then in that documentary, Ray Nagin, the mayor of New Orleans, what did he get caught up doing?
Stealing money.
Stealing money, helping to rebuild New Orleans. Black leadership.
He's out of jail now, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he is now.
I think he is.
Mm-hmm. And Cortez, you say, well, Pioneer.
Real quick, the black man goes to jail as the scapegoat. Every time. Every time.
Well, he should know better. You know what I'm saying? Cortez, he says, well, Pioneer, the Arab community is huge in Detroit. Jafia says there's a huge difference in the ghetto and the hood. I don't have a problem living in the hood, but I refuse to live in the ghetto. I know that's right. Chocolate Girl says, yes, I have one of those. Pamela says, Donovan, you live in a nice neighborhood. Even though I've never been in your house, I have seen pictures on Facebook. Yes, indeed. The morning says, Demetra, what I really hate is that in order for you to live moderately decent, if you're not minimum of $1,100 to $800, you living in the slums in Detroit, if you're not able to afford thousands. Yeah, it's like that everywhere, though. I mean, it's not just Detroit. It's everywhere now. They're pricing people out. And but right now it will behoove us to live together. Let's get as many people as we can under one roof that's tolerable, if you will. Save our money and we could buy houses. That's what everybody else does. But no, we want to struggle alone, right? We want to have our own little place and struggle and all of that, opposed to practicing a little bit of group economics and building and buying, right? Divide says, oops, sorry for repeating the comment about the hood. No, that's all right. And Moni says, the owner of the apartments that I own is a former Detroit Tiger Blue Jays player, and he's a complete slum that wants to retaliate because I've kept his behind in the news and I keep him. He says, what is that?
So, as expecting tickets, something like that. Ticket.
Okay, and teacher, how you doing? And Chocolate Girl, he says Little Italy too. And Moni says for things that he should already do, such as know to keep the fire doors closed so no one burns to death from knowing that there's a decomposed body. You have it picked up after a day of discovery. And see, that is, I'm sorry. Like, never mind the body in the hallway. Just step over. We haven't gotten a chance to get to it, but we will.
Hey, remember in Coming to America when they were renting the apartment? He took down the crime scene tape.
My God.
He's just like, don't mind this. This is perfect. This is perfect.
It's crazy. Sunlight says, Donovan, ahead of you, we will call them Maroon Towns.
Like that, yeah, Maroon Towns, yeah.
Okay. And Donovan says, such a great conversation. How about them Cowboys? Laugh out loud. You tell us. The Pioneer says, plug your ears on this one, Brother Donovan. Laugh out loud. Sis, problem is a lot of black men who got wealthy and left the hood are more willing to protect white women and children than their own where they grew up. Woo! You done stepped on some toes today. All right, so let me see, where was I? Okay, and Jafia says it will be called the hood, Donovan. Charles.
Like I said, you got to think about that stuff. You got Koreatown, China. What would a black area be called? I mean, we already know it's the hood or the ghetto, but let's get a more aspected since we're paying all this rent and taxes.
Charles, you crazy. And how you doing, by the way? He says it will be called Hate on Each Other Alley. Well, damn. And Modi says, I hope that you guys will do a show to tell us what programs other than standard HUD or that will help those that are low income, because I definitely want to get a home, even if it's a tiny home. Well, you said, Marty, if I'm not mistaken, you said you're disabled to some degree. There's a lot of programs that will help disabled people even buy houses. So just check into that. And Marty says, I have never thought about buying a home until now, where I'm tired of dealing with slumlords who all they want to do is get mad when you complain about stuff not being fixed, but don't mind getting money. Yes, indeed. The Pioneer says it boils down to whose life you find more valuable. If you can't stand to see a white woman get robbed or assaulted, but don't care if black women are, that says you value and cherish white life more. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And Shemesh, she says, I was in Texas recently. I shopped at an HEB in the black community. The vegetable section was about 25 feet long. Later, I went to an HEB on the European side of town. The vegetable section was about 30 plus yards long and wrapped into a circle. Most things were cheaper and fresher, including meat. He said, I think it meant fish and meat. Plus, they had a gasoline deal with the shopping receipt. Big difference. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Here in California, they have a lot of farmers markets, and a lot of people are going there because it's cheaper than going to the chain link store, and the fruits are bigger and, and they're fresher.
Mm-hmm. And let's see here. And Sunlight says they did blow the levees. Yeah. That's what the word is. And Tisha, you say this is true for my neighborhood in New York. Walt, how you doing? He says, why is Uganda taking it 2,000 Afghans? That's a good question. I saw that the other day too, and I'm like, really? Okay, that's how we doing it? What's happening, Frank? And Jafia says the levees were also opened back in the 1920s. Katrina was a repeat. Yep, so I hear. And Anais says, so we're going to act like Cuomo wasn't set up. I'm just saying I'm in New York state of mind. Yeah, I believe you. I think he was set up as well. It's like all of a sudden, he's this, serial Me Too perpetrator, right? And Frank says Uganda is with the elites. Okay. And Jonelle says not black leadership, but Negro leadership. Yep. And the Pioneer says, good point, bringing up the conspiracy of the levees being blown. Black folks just let that go without an investigation. But look how whites are still pushing the election conspiracy. Yep. Cost all of that black life. And we're just like, well, crying that FEMA won't come through and all of that. But yeah, why did it happen to that degree, right? And Sunlight says that Donovan, they did try to sue the Corps of Engineers. They're immune. You can't sue them.
Yeah, the Corps of Engineers, but you can still do the investigation. You have the internal investigation with the Corps of Engineers. None of that was done. None of it.
Mm-hmm. And Tisha, you say, I just left Detroit. I couldn't believe what I saw there. Yeah, I've heard quite a bit about it, and Moni's, been keeping us abreast of that. And
but here's the thing, you guys. and me and Demetra say this all the time whenever we go overseas. We have an expectation when we go overseas that, oh, these are third world countries. We got to realize we live in a third world country, because what you're describing is what you would expect in a third world country.
Yep. Monty says, Donovan, here in Michigan, if they don't physically just throw you out, they can get away with it. Here in Detroit with 36 district court, and you have to pay a lawyer who nowadays don't represent the tenant. Oh, you better believe it. And Jonelle says, real Black leadership is moral and principled. That is well-made Negro leadership that's made in America. Yes, indeed. And Monty says, I'm right now got to meet with a lawyer on Tuesday because my bed bug attorney is dragging his behind and getting emergency order to stop this eviction, though I don't owe any money retaliating against me. Yeah, they mad because you won't put up with it. And so they're trying to, I really hope that you are successful with your lawsuit.
Yeah, and then you got to remember, Moni, what they're doing is a Donald Trump legal maneuver. They have more resources than you. So what they're trying to do is make you use up all your resources, whether you're either going to end up dropping the lawsuit, get disinterested, it's not worth your time, and you're going to go away. And that's what they do. But if you're tenacious and you just stick with it, trust me, I've been sued. That last case that I just got done Friday, that took 2 years. And they were suing me. And I wouldn't drop it. 2 years.
Yep. Money makes people tap out all the time. And Atia, you say big time. Jafia says, I agree, the pioneer. And Pain and Fool says, what about Taliban sleeper cells hiding amongst those Afghan refugees that will receive unearned benefits? Yep, that's what we were just talking about not too long ago. How do they know, right? Some Taliban didn't get on some of those planes. And Cortez says, yes, but the Arab community owned more in Detroit than Black community. And talk to the pioneer. And Tisha, you say, check out the NACA program. It's a tedious process, but I know a lot of people who have bought houses through that program. Okay. Yeah, so I'll put this up so people can see it. NACA program. And Pioneer says, not trying to get into Black man bashing. I'm a brother myself. However, I got to keep it real. Don't these brothers care about the safety of their own mothers and sisters, or is the pink more valuable? Well, not to all brothers, but you raise a good question.
Yeah, well, let's look at Daniel Cameron. His sister was murdered, and the brother was like, well, I'm about to get married to my white snow bunny, so I don't have time to deal with the case. And then when he deals with the case, he tells the mother something totally different than he told the jury, the grand jury. And this woman still hasn't got justice today, and he's out here explaining and blaming the grand jury when they said what he said was counteractive to what actually happened.
Yes, indeed. And let's see here. As you say, Negro Town, Pan-African City, Freedom Village. I like that. And Pay the Fool says, call Henrik Town. Okay, named after Dr. John Henrik Clark. Yes, indeed. I like that as well. And Jonelle says, protecting white women is made in Hollywood reproduction like Man on Fire, The Equalizer, Black Snake Moan, etc. We are under subtle programming, and whitewashed Black men do fight and die for Black women despite the dominant stereotype. That is true. That is very true. But yeah, those images they put forth, like, King Kong and the white woman he was saving. Y'all don't tell me that wasn't symbolic. If you didn't catch that symbolism, I don't know what to tell you. And Tisha, you say you have Wall Street companies and Zillow buying a property and paying 25% over asking price and then reselling the property above market value. And you know what? You just put a lot of people on game, because I actually was in the market looking for houses recently. And I just say, you know what? Forget it. Right now, I'm going to rent because it's just too competitive out there. And it's a lot, right? You got people doing that, but that you mentioned that makes perfect sense. Some of these houses you like, I'm telling y'all, some of these houses, let me tell y'all a story. One of the houses we went and looked at, walked in, opened the kitchen cabinet, and when I say a whole village of roaches.
No, those are your winters. Those are something.
Popped out of that damn cabinet. We couldn't run out of there fast enough. I'm like, they really trying to sell this? But people are just putting anything on the market, and unfortunately, there's a lot of investors come snap those properties up. They put the money in, right back around.
Usually, it's a cash offer. So, I mean, how many of us can put down
100?
Yeah, $250,000 plus $50,000 over the asking price.
Mm-hmm. Charles says, we stopped all forms of protest. It was a fad, sadly. Yes, indeed. And Mona says, Demetra, I would love for you to maybe show me how to be able to put my message on YouTube, because I want to draw attention so that this never happens to no one else who is disabled and a woman.
Moni, all you need is a computer with a camera and a YouTube account, and there you go, and share it on all your platforms. It's that simple.
Yep, just start getting the word out. I mean, send me a link, I'll share it. And the Pioneer says, Brother Donovan, exactly, crying crocodile tears. If we don't value and protect our own women, who else will? We are so many wealthy white zaddies have to rescue poor black girls from the hood. You said, why are there so many? I think, yeah. I'm gonna let y'all have that conversation. Jafia says the U.S. definitely is third world at this point, if not for their behavior for the people who lived here.
Well, no, if you look at all our homeless here. We were in Costa Rica. Demetra, how many homeless did you see in Costa Rica?
Not many.
Exactly.
I didn't see many. Yeah.
You know, even in South Africa, even though the blacks were living in the shanty towns, they had a place to lay their head. But here in America, look at all the homeless we got, and half of them are black.
Mm-hmm.
In a third world country, we have been brainwashed to think this is the city and the country of excellence. It's not. I mean, they're throwing it right in your face, and we're still in denial.
Yep. Marty says in Detroit, we don't have any Trader Joe's. They only in different outskirts suburbs. Whole Foods is very high and very expensive. I go from time to time, but I like local, which is about good 70 lower. And then Fly on the Wall, how you doing? He says, when was real cheap in Detroit? When it was real cheap in Detroit, me and my wife worked 12-hour shifts and paid $15,000, and we are homeowners. Too many black people in the city party too much and have nothing to show for it. Absolutely. I mean, just spending money left and right on nonsense, opposed to, like you said, saving up and, buying a little piece of something, right? And let's see. But the thing is, too, we stopped teaching the value of home ownership. And the Pioneer says, if we want a safer community, it's up to us as righteous black men to organize and protect it, like those Italian dudes with baseball bats when looking for the Son of Sam and Spike Lee's Summer of Sam movie. Yep. They was like, not here, you won't. Hey, Brother Sammy, how you doing? He says the book Rising Tides talked about the levees being blown in 1927, I think. It was also reported that bomb residue was found on pieces taken from the levees by the Army Corps of Engineers, all about black removal. Yes, indeed.
Kind of like the residual that was found in the steel girders of the World Trade Center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Jonelle says, right, teach Donovan. This is even worse than a third world country. It's an everyday war zone with a variety of wars within it, regulated for big revenue at the expense of the poor. Says butthole cycling for systems of slavery and degradation. Yes, indeed. And somebody says, pink is more valuable. Ask Kevin Samuels. Oh, Lord, y'all want to snatch him into the chat, huh? And yeah, I've heard him talk about how, black men are starting to have, I don't know if starting is the word, but an appetite for white women, and the white women are coming along and snatching, or the other women rather, coming along and snatching black, men away from black women. But I would say this, ain't no black man gonna be snatched unless he wants to be. Mostly a black man that love black women, can't nobody else snatch him away from sisters. I'm sorry. Olivia says, we are still in the class action lawsuit against the NACA program, so I honestly would not advise that, but to each their own. Okay, well, do tell. What was your experience? And Money says, Demetra, when I buy a home, it will definitely not be in a raggedy Detroit, and no aspect is Detroit outside of Highland Park home track. And it says, Ecorse, Inkster, or some of the other worst ghetto cities. Too many blacks tear it up, I think you're trying to say. And holistic lifestyle, you say most black men aren't into pink women like that. Now, I totally agree with you.
Never have, like 7-Up. Never have, never will.
Pioneer says, no, Queen, not all brothers, but out of 20 million black men in America, we have at least 20,000 organized to protect their community. That's less than 1 in every 1,000. Do we even have that? Yeah, and the Nation of Islam is asking for 10,000 fearless. So it's, half of the 20,000 you're asking for. Jonelle says, remember the black man who pulled his gun on the white man on behalf of the pregnant sister? He didn't know when she was being harassed. Yeah, I remember that video. White man was messing with her in the parking lot, and the brother walked up and was like, listen, okay? So yeah. And NIU says King Kong was modeled after Jack Johnson. Yes, I have heard that story as well. Pioneer says, what happened to Grandmaster Jay and his black militia they organized back in 2020? I thought they said that they were organized to protect the black community from police brutality and gangs. Where are they? Well, Grandmaster Jay is tied up in, legal trouble of his own. It said that he pointed a gun at police officers and stuff like that, which, more than likely he did not do that, but that he's been silenced, which is nothing new, right? And it's unfortunate that, I know people have their issues with the NFAC, but it's unfortunate that more black people didn't get behind him. I saw a lot of people saying, oh, he's an agent, this, that, and the other. I don't know. But that's kind of...
Isn't that the same playbook that they use against our community constantly? And what kills me is it constantly works.
Mm-hmm. And Amoni says, when I buy a home, to meet you, I want to be in a mixed environment where it's multiple nationalities, never too many of never too many of just all whites, and never all black. Shame, but that's how it has to be. Okay. And she mentions Dr. Claude Anderson for president of our city is a great start. Oh, yes, indeed. If he even wants to do that, right? I think he kind of sick of us at this point. Charles says, women today want casual relationships and date 3 or 4 times a week and have no intention of nothing but the highest thing on the menu. I'm just saying, well, I mean, I tend to think men are that way, but that's just because I'm from a woman's point of view. I tend to think men want to date 2 and 3 and 4 and, not really settle down, but it's probably true for a lot of people. But, we talked about that on Friday. I just think that we're better together, but who am I, right? Hey, Zodiac Fun, how you doing? And Thunder says, how about call one of the black areas of economic Andersonville? Okay, in honor of Godfather of Black Economics, Dr. Claude Anderson. Yes, I love it. Marty says, Demetra, I would love to be able to show my camcorder sort sets to show the environment of what one has to live through in. There is a way that I can email you this footage and let you take a look at it. Yes, I will put my email up toward the end, so please remind me. And Angela, how you doing? You says, U.S. always been a third world for us. Okay, since the Middle Passage, right?
Well, let me just think about this. Has it been a third world country for us because it's one of the richest nations in the world, or is it the fact that we're regulated to live in a third world?
She talking about for black people. It's
right.
Always been a third world country for us. Yeah.
Got it.
And so the Pioneer says, like Malik Shabazz, Malcolm said, black men tend to bleed when white folks tell them to bleed. They'll strap up and go fight Afghans, but won't deal with these gangsters trifling. He says their own women and children. It's a good point. Terrorizing, my bad. Oh, I get it. YouTube will have you with the algorithms and stuff. So Moni says, I would love to draw as much media attention to this as possible to expose how those of us are disabled and forced to having to live through, which is asinine and totally wrong. Please let me know. Okay. And Tisha, you say, because their mamas don't cook. My mama cooks, I cook. Nothing like a home cooked meal. Eating out is a treat, not the standard. And we're not teaching our daughters this.
Wait. You said that. I didn't. This is my disclaimer. Donovan did not say what Tisha K just said.
Well, she's right. And Jafar says, Donovan, if you want to kiss on a putty, I have one for you to kiss.
Yes. Okay, got it. I just love my animals. I just love them.
And I'm going to leave that between y'all. JJ says, wow, a bunch of roaches in the cabinet. Roaches will never have an ancestor. They have, that's how long they live. Yeah, that's what I said. Out of all the animals and stuff, God decided to put on the ark and the stuff. He put 2 roaches together. You couldn't just let them drown.
Do you know what the sad thing is? Even if there was a nuclear holocaust and people were wiped off the face of the earth, the roaches would still be here.
I don't understand it. And Jonelle says, black man, no, the only true treasure and heaven on earth is the black woman. You better preach. Pioneer says, sis, not only did the Italian men organize to protect their communities, but in the East Los, that's what we call it, East Los. The police were trying to catch some serial killer before the Latino gangs in Los Angeles caught him. You see what I'm saying? There's like, yeah, you better, serial killer, you better hope the LAPD catch y'all before we do. That's the way it needs to go down, right? And Entree, how you doing? It says NFAC was a farce and he is an agent. Okay, yeah, so that's what some people are saying. And Sunlight says a lot of black women have become accustomed to being unprotected. Unfortunately, some of it is self-inflicted, some is not. What's the solution? Woo, boy. Okay, remind me to come back to that, Donovan, because what I'm going to say is probably not going to be all that great. Money says, so again, Demetra, is there a way that I can email you? So yeah, I will put it, my email, well, my email is on my, here, let me see. Donovan, no, I put it right here. Let me just do this real quick. And then when it comes up, I'll put it up, but I'll put it in the thing right now. So, okay, I put it in the comment section. All right, and so Jafai says that Donovan, mine doesn't have fleas or dander, and it smells great. I'm gonna let y'all have that conversation. And Jonelle says, black men know that the only true heaven on earth is the black woman. Is not. I mean, it's only weak-minded men crying about dealing with a black woman running to go deal with even worse with other women who didn't produce him. You better preach. And Pioneer says, exactly, the minister was calling on 10,000 fearless black men to stand up. The sad part is you have so many brothers out there dying anyway over stupid ish, whether they're standing up or not. Yep, but won't do it for a good cause. And Fly on the Wall, he says, when we were segregated, we had communities and we had neighborhoods. Once we became integrated, we have ghetto and hoods now. Yep. And Charles says, we really can't get our own like other Black Wall Street. They will bomb it too. A lot of people are saying that, but you know, I believe there's ways to avoid that. But yeah, it's a good point. And the Pioneer says, I heard Grandmaster Jay was going through legal problems. However, he had thousands of armed black men and women marching with him in Louisville. Did they just disappear? What was the purpose of even showing up? Yeah, where are they? Good questions. The teacher says, Donovan, I said what I said. Laugh out loud. Thunder says, Demetra, okay, are there any black-owned gas stations in your area? You know, I don't know. I'm still learning the area, and unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't go to the gas station very much because I don't drive my car much. I think I put gas in my car twice since I've been in Houston, so I would need to find out though. And let's see here. Jafia says roaches were around during the time of the dinosaurs. Supposedly they're the only survivors from the prehistoric times. Like, what's really going on with these roaches? Like super roaches, they flying and stuff, biting people.
Wait. Movie trivia. What horror movie was based on roaches and had Charles S. Dutton in the movie? And Maria Sorvino.
Creep Show?
It was like these big roaches. They were like super roaches. Mimic.
Oh.
Yeah, Mimic. If you haven't seen that movie, go see that movie.
Creep Show. I remember the Creep Show. All right. And Martin says, that's the one thing I can say about Michigan. We don't have hurricanes or severe avalanches like some states like Texas, Louisiana, parts of Florida. Cost of living is much cheaper than Texas or Florida. You also say, Demetra, I'm going to email you later when I come out of the laundromat. Okay, so yeah, I'll be looking for it. Cool. Frank says, even if the property has roaches, they need to exterminate. Yeah, roaches are not supposed to be there. That's not normal. But unfortunately, people just think it is. No, they're not supposed to be renting you a property with roaches in it. It's just not. And Pioneer says, gangs are organized to protect the communities from outsiders, whether civilian or police. That's what the original black gangs of Chicago and Los Angeles were organized for before drugs took over. Yep. And Reggie, how you doing?
I have a question too. When it comes to the roaches, why do we let it get to such a problem to where it's just a manifest of all these roaches? I mean, the minute you see one, you should be calling the landlord.
Yeah, because they breed, right? They take over, you know. And And Reggie, how you doing? Yes, Creep Show. That's what I was thinking of. That the original Creep Show when the dude had the roaches and they got out.
I remember that. Yeah, and the guy that was in that was the old man or the rich guy. What movie was he in that starred J. Lee Cobb and Henry Fonda?
Grapes of Wrath.
12 Angry Men. He was the guy with the glasses.
Okay, I was close. Not close enough though. And Martin says, Demetra, you're absolutely right, but it's bad when you have courts like here in Detroit, 36th District Court always sides with the landlords unless it's being building and safety involved news coverage. Well, I think you got to realize too is that those landlords are also lobbyists, and they're not those officials, the lawyers, the courts. They're not going to go against what's going in their pocket. It's just a fact.
And then Moni, you know, you really got to like do a lot of research because if it's written in law and it's codified in law, and you can find something detrimental to the codified in law, you're going to win. Like a good example here. How many of you guys think that a policy is law? When you go into a government building and they say, oh, you can't record in here, that's a policy. That's not a law. You can record in there if it's a public area. So you got to understand how the law works.
Right. A lot of people don't know that. Hell, I can make a policy anywhere. Where is our policy not to let people with green shoes come in here? Well, per the law, that's discrimination. You know, so and Frank says, no, let me see. In charge, he said the best city with Black unity within a city is Orange Mound in Memphis, Tennessee. Never heard of it before. Donovan says, Tisha, I heard you. Pioneer says, my father used to tell me all it takes for evil to flourish is good men to do nothing. I later found out where he got that quote from. It's still true in my mind, regardless of who said it, who first said it. Absolutely. Sunlight says, nowhere is safe from natural disasters, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, snowstorms, and wildfires. Where can you run to? Nowhere. Pioneer says, Queen, how in the world did you breeze through all those comments so quickly? You ran through them like Auntie Pumpkin's pies on Thanksgiving. Auntie Pumpkin can't cook then, okay? Oh, I thought, never mind. I thought they ran through us, but never mind.
Well, you gotta remember, she had a whole day to rest her vocals.
Right. And Laughing Stock, how you doing? Says, hey, D&D, isn't there a Trader Joe's in Grosse Pointe, Michigan? Oh, because somebody was saying that there wasn't. I don't know, but there's a whole lot of Trader Joe's out here. I was in one yesterday. Defy says the area of I-95 that runs through New York City has the highest rate of asthma in the U.S. due to the exhaust fumes of many cars traveling 95, and the fact that there are lots of rats and roaches in that area. Yeah, roaches are asthma, agents of asthma, which is why a lot of our children, especially in the projects and stuff, are asthmatic because roaches carry the whatever it is that exacerbates it.
Yeah. Then another thing you guys got to remember, as they're gentrifying these areas that have been there for 80 years, 100 years, you got to remember those rats and roaches, they nested there for centuries, right? Here in LA, the gentrification that they were doing here, we're uncovering all these rats and roaches that were just going rampant all over the place and starting outbreaks. So if your area is being gentrified and now you have a high thing of infestation, that's where it's coming from, the gentrification of the old buildings to build the new buildings.
Yep, and Thunder says, once again, we control only two things. That's our vote and our money. What does it take for us to start a political pact? Good question. And Defiant says, mice droppings are very toxic. Yes. And the Pioneer says, not only does the environmental toxins cause asthma, but drinking a lot of milk, makes excess mucus in the bodies of many African Americans, causing asthma. That's a fact. And he says, Jodeci never made musical sense. I don't care what you say. Oh, Lord, we're going to have this musical show. But anyway, let me get to this here. So Sunlight, she posed a very good question. And she says, a lot of Black women have become accustomed to being unprotected, unfortunately. Some of it is self-inflicted. Some of it is not. What's the solution? Well, I want to start with some of it is self-inflicted. And it's true. Some of it is self-inflicted because, unfortunately, I won't say a lot, some Black women have gotten their independent, I'm walking tall and talking tough thing, and they've taken it to the extreme. And so some Black women have put themselves in a position to where they aren't able to be protected, right? Because if somebody tries, a black man tries, then it's, for example, Brother Tyrone Muhammad is a good example when he went through the window of the Asian nail salon not nail salon, I think it was nail salon. Yeah, that was abusing the black women. And what did they do? They put, even with a cardboard or plywood on the window, black women were still in that shop after he jeopardized his, freedom for them, and then was mad that, he was standing up for them, some of them. And I saw him again not too long ago going to another salon, and the sister wanted to talk about shooting him over, so some of us just put ourselves in a position to where we cannot be protected. You go harder on your man, not your man per se, but the black man, than you do the people who's doing the oppression. And again, that whole independent attitude, I don't need no man, that puts us in a position to not be protected. And then unfortunately, some black men are like, well, you know what? I'm gonna leave those sisters alone because unfortunately, my life may be at risk. I'm trying to help a sister out and I catch something that was meant for her, and then she gonna go back and defend the oppressor. And so, some of that it is, self-inflicted. Some of it is not. Some of our brothers, I think, have brought into the fact that sisters aren't worthy of protection, as you guys alluded to, express. Some brothers see white women or other women as more valuable. That's seen as the prize, right? Because a lot of black men were told that y'all couldn't have those women. A lot of y'all, our ancestors rather, were lynched, and a whole host of horrible things happened to you behind even trying to be with that woman. And now we're in a modern day era where that won't happen to you as much. You value that woman over your own woman. Let a white woman come up missing somewhere and all hell break loose.
All resources are used to get her back.
But a black woman come up missing, you won't even hear about it unless somebody knows about it, told you about it. So, there's a whole host of reasons, but we need to cut the shit.
Yeah, and again, let's talk what's going on right now, the R. Kelly trial. All these young girls were exploited and stuff, and some of them were legal age, some of them maybe not have been of legal age. And all this was going on, and nobody was protecting these girls. But R. Kelly's the only one on trial.
Charles, I'm just reading the prime. It says, y'all talk about the bunny or the cat, whatever you call it, laugh out loud. Oh, that's them talking about that. And Pioneer says asthma is actually an autoimmune disease where your lungs and bronchial tubes swell up as an allergic reaction. It does this for many people of all races except for the white race. They have asthma too, don't they? I don't know. My daughter says yes. And the Pioneer says Caucasians are the only race where most of the adults can routinely drink this milk with no adverse problems. Yeah, it says that black people, we're not designed to drink it. We're all lactose intolerant. Some of us have just become used to it. What'd you say?
You better put the water on that shit.
She's right. And Pioneer says, I hear what you're saying, Queen, but claiming that black women don't appreciate it is an excuse for black men not to stand up. No, I didn't say all. I said some. Some black women just, you can't tell me what to do. I got it. All of that, right? So, no. He says maybe some, but the vast majority welcome our protection. Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. And Pioneer says some of these brothers are looking for any out, quote unquote, where they can escape their responsibility and danger of standing against the racists and thugs to snuggle up under the Caucasian woman in her house. Oh my God. Fire says a lot of these girls were brought to R. Kelly by their parents. Yep. And Tisha says New York City has a warehouse full of unprocessed rape kits. Majority of those kits belong to black women. HBO did a documentary on it, and I'm not surprised by that at all. Because where's the pressure, right? And Jonelle says we don't recognize the game, even with the Willie Lynch playbook in our hand. Make a comparison, step back, and let the argue put one above the other, etc. Willie Lynch tactics are still in play. We practice our own division to the max, everything but common ground and self-love. Yes, indeed. And Pioneer says, Brother Donovan makes a great point about R. Kelly. Now, after he goes to jail, all of a sudden the black community has so much to say about him, but they knew what he was doing decades before. That's why I said I can't get into the fake outrage.
Yeah, and the sad thing about that, Pioneer, too, is And it's sad. It is so sad. So many of our Black girls have a story of being molested by a family member or whatever. And in our community, we know these older men are dating these younger girls, and we say nothing unless, you know, it becomes a, you know, so obvious that they have to do something. You know, it's just sad. It's just sad.
Yes, indeed. And so, and Defiance says it said that because we are the only race that 100% human, ingesting the milk of animals is not good for us. Yeah, we're the only one that drinks another species' milk. And Brother Simon says also we must be taught the value of Black woman. It must be taught to men and women by all who are qualified, especially our men of God and preachers. When the Black woman carries herself like a queen she is and dressed like the queen she is, the Black man will kill concrete for her. I like that. JJ says some of those ladies were chasing after R. Kelly. Yes. And the Pioneer says, why does it take white men to arrest R. Kelly to protect the Black women and girls? Where are the Black daddies and brothers of these women? And why weren't they kicking in the doors down to Kelly's home first? Because they was getting this from him.
Yeah,
right?
A couple of years ago, Demetra, you had brought up the fact that that writer who had followed R. Kelly for years and was reporting it, and nothing was done.
It was always there, but Lifetime comes along and tells us about it, and all of a sudden, R. Kelly's a monster. I mean, that was never new, right? And Charles says, please straddle the fence and sit back and wait in the outcome. Okay. And Javaya says, I meant to say it's said. And Ross says, mimic scene. So you saw mimic. Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I am at the end of the comments, which is, you know, a good thing because we always want to make sure everybody's comments are read. So we're going to start getting out of here. But I want to thank you guys for being here on this Sunday and having this conversation with us. YouTube and Facebook, you guys make this so much fun. As always, we ask if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns to please hit either me and Donovan up, and we would love to discuss it because sometimes it does get hard to find topics. But also like to thank Donovan, the recovering Democrat, for sitting here, you know, and ladies, I mean, I don't know, are you still on the auction block, Donovan? Donovan is still on the auction block.
Yes, I got to get over $10 now. Come on now.
Yeah. I think Moni put $2,500 up last Friday, so you just keep your mouth closed, brother. Don't ruin it, okay? Don't ruin it. Donovan is still on the auction block to the highest bidder. And also like to thank Marcus Guyton for everything that he does behind the scene and making the show go further. And again, you guys, we have a Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. You can become a member, channel member. There's different plans, very inexpensive, or you can donate to the super chat. Everything helps to help this channel continue on. And we thank those who are members and who have donated. It's much appreciated. And to those who want to and just can't, we appreciate you as well. Thank you for your contribution. So yes, you guys do have a great week. Finder says, Queen, I have yours. What is Donovan's email? Donovan, you want to put your email in the chat? He said they want your lips, bro. Oh, yes. Okay. How about Thursday? We do our Black Music Live. Is that when Donovan will be the music aficionado in regards to that day, right? So that'll be Don't Believe the Hype. All right, y'all. So we'll see you guys on Thursday, if not before, but probably be Thursday. So you guys have a great week and stay safe out there. Peace.